Over the last few years, we have speculated that the Fed will 100% flip on crypto, and that's exactly what just happened. We have been focused on some of the big organizations that have been talking about and addressing crypto over the last few months. One big thing that's been really kind of growing this year is acceptance from banks, and also the race towards adopting and also offering crypto services from the big banks. And this is something that I do believe is going to only continue to grow over the next couple of weeks and months ahead. But before we really kind of dive on in, welcome to the channel, Wynand Crypto. My name is Wynand. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So let's dive on in and let's actually talk about a few things going all the way back to January. Jerome Powell did say that banks can fully serve crypto customers. That is exactly what he said.
Our role with Bitcoin really is to look at, with crypto, really is to look at the banks, and we think it's, banks are perfectly able to serve crypto customers as long as they understand and can manage the risks, and it's safe and sound. As a good number of our banks that we regulate and supervise do that. The threshold has been a little higher for banks engaging.
Now, we don't have any specifics on this. We didn't really get a huge update, from Jerome Powell on this until just recently on the 16th of this month, where Fed Chair Jerome Powell says crypto is going mainstream. A legal framework for stablecoins is a good idea, and there will be loosening of bank rules on crypto.
We worked with Congress to try to get a framework, a legal framework for stablecoins, which would have been a nice place to start. We were not successful. I think that the climate is changing, and you're moving into sort of more mainstreaming of that whole sector. So Congress is again looking at, both the Senate and the House are looking at a framework, a legal framework for stablecoins. Depending on what's in it, that's a good idea. We need that. There isn't one now. And stablecoins are a digital product that could actually have fairly wide appeal and should contain consumer protections of the typical sorts and transparency. And that's what the Senate and the House are working on. So that's a positive thing. We took a pretty conservative, and other bank regulators took an even more conservative perspective on the guidance and rules we imposed on banks. I think there'll be some loosening of that, and I think we'll try to do it in a way that preserves safety and soundness, but that, permits and fosters appropriate innovation, that does so in a way that, again, doesn't put consumers at risk in ways they don't understand or make banks less safe and sound.
So the big focus here is on stablecoins, right? We want to usher in a stablecoin framework. We want to get behind stablecoin regulations so that the big banks and even the Fed could dive into stablecoins. We are going to see a much larger shift here, and it's going to be from the big names like the Fed, and even more recently when we were talking about what happened so far this year, leading up to what the Fed just announced. We did see the FDIC just made it easier for banks to engage in crypto-related activities. This is one of the best ways to mainstream crypto further, thanks to FDIC government and acting chairman Travis Hill. This happened on the May 28th. On top of that, we did get US regulator OC confirms banks can engage in Bitcoin and crypto services, like asset custody. Again, this is one of the biggest regulators in the US, and this was on May 7th. But then, we just got an update on the 22nd from the OCC confirming certain crypto-related activities are legally permissible and expect banks conducting these activities to do so with appropriate risk management processes in place. And then to build on top of all of that, we just witnessed the Fed completely give us one of the biggest, and I would argue one of the most bullish announcements yet. It's crazy because as an XRP holder and as an XRP content creator as well, one thing that we have addressed over the last couple of years is, when is the Fed going to flip? When is the Fed going to dive in on crypto and start to officially embrace it? For years, we speculated on this. In fact, if we go all the way back to like 2017, 2018, even 2019, 2020, each cycle, all we hear about is that the Fed is going to either add crypto to their balance sheet or accept crypto, adopt crypto, integrate crypto. Leading into 2023, the big focus was Fed now. And today, as we are really kind of looking at these announcements, the focus here is banks offering crypto services. Well, we just got this. The Federal Reserve announces the withdrawal of guidance for banks related to their crypto asset and dollar token activities and related changes to its expectations for these activities. Guys, this is huge. 2.1 million views. You could obviously see how big of an announcement this actually was. Now, to really kind of go in depth on this, Mario Nuffel did put a post out talking about breaking the Fed ditches crypto red tape, tells banks to go ahead and innovate. The Federal Reserve just scrapped its restrictive crypto guidance that forced banks to get special permission before touching digital assets, opening the regulatory floodgates for traditional finance to enter the crypto space. In a sweeping Thursday announcement, the Fed rescinded multiple supervisory letters from 2022 and 2023 that created major roadblocks for banks interested in crypto and stablecoin activities. The coordinated action with the FDIC and the OCC signals a dramatic shift in how regulators view crypto, moving from hostile skepticism to cautious innovation. Support a major victory for financial institutions eager to explore blockchain opportunities. And yeah, guess what? When you think about what's going on here, which is something that I reported on for many weeks back in 2023 because it was a huge thing to focus on, all of that is getting torn down. This is huge. This is very big because of the focus put on banks getting the green light. This is opening up floodgates for trillions of dollars to touch the space. Massive amounts of users. And the major traditional institutional players are now going to flood in. This is a huge announcement. And we actually have here the full breakdown from the Fed's website. Federal Reserve Board announces the withdrawal of guidance for banks related to their crypto asset and dollar token activities, related changes to its expectations for these activities. And here's where they start to kind of break that down. These actions ensure the board's expectations remain aligned with evolving risk and further support innovation in the banking system. The board is rescinding its 2022 supervisory letter establishing an expectation that state member banks provide advanced notification of planned or current crypto asset activities. As a result, the board will no longer expect banks to provide notifications, will instead monitor banks' crypto assets activities through the normal supervisory process, and then also the 2023 supervisory letter regarding supervisory non-objection process for state member banks' engagement in dollar token activities. Finally, the board, together with the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, is joining the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency (OCC) in withdrawing from the 2023 statement jointly issued by the federal bank regulatory agencies regarding banks' crypto asset activities and exposures. The board will work with the agency to consider whether additional guidance to support innovation, including crypto asset activities, is appropriate. So this is huge. And you know what? If you want to long or short XRP, go to Wynand Crypto, and on this video you're going to find a link to sign up to BTCC to be able to trade Bitcoin and XRP and other cryptocurrencies. And guys, with BTCC you can get a limited time $10,000 bonus on your first deposit. This is where I'm trading. This is where I can open all of my long positions, all of my trades. I think it's a fantastic place to be trading, so make sure to use the link down in the description below if you want to sign up and start trading XRP. We just also got an announcement around Trump media to launch America First ETFs with Crypto.com. This happened on the 22nd. Like when you're thinking about all of these big updates, it is kind of crazy, but they're happening in such a short amount of time. I mean, if you really think about the FDIC was back in in March. The OC was just recently, I think the original update from the OC was also in March, and now we have the Fed announcing huge, updates in April. This is why I'm looking forward to, seeing what happens in May with the Fed as well with the FOMC meeting. I just think that we're marching into a very, very bullish environment around crypto. Now, with the Fed, we still have one more thing to do. And Eleanor Tourette did report on this. She said that the Federal Reserve has rolled back 95% of its anti-crypto guidance, but there's still one obstacle left to clear. And this is actually from Caitlin Long. I just noticed the Fed didn't rescind its January 27th, 2023 anti-crypto guidance, which the board voted 7-0 to approve at the time, but it appears to have rescinded all other guidance it issued without a board vote. I think this means that the Fed didn't yet comply with Trump's executive order, so the Fed anti-crypto guidance is still in place, which means Fed-regulated banks are disadvantaged versus the OC or FDIC-regulated banks for stablecoins and other activities. The stablecoin bill, when it becomes law, would overturn this. P.S. The Fed board is 4-3 Dems reps, which may be why the board didn't vote to overturn the January 27, 2023 guidance. Might not have the votes to overturn it yet. So will the Fed remain the outlier anti-crypto regulator? The January 27, 2023 Fed guidance is very anti-crypto. So yeah, we're still definitely focused on this. I do think that this will be overturned as well. I think that January 27, 2023 Fed guidance is very anti-crypto. So yeah, we're still definitely focused on this. I do think that this will be overturned as well. I don't think that's anything to be, concerned about if 95% of it got completely rescinded. I think that the additional 5% will get rescinded as well, but it's very clear, right? It's very clear in where we are right now around crypto. It's kind of crazy to see all of this coming together because again, this is something that we have talked about for years happening. The big banks jumping into crypto, holding crypto, offering crypto services. And a lot of people, constantly said, no, the banks are not going to want to touch crypto. They don't care for crypto. They want to kill crypto. And this was actually a big concern if we really think about what was happening back in 2023. We talked about it on multiple occasions. I've addressed it on multiple occasions. It was a huge problem. And in fact, it showed us that the banks were trying to kill crypto, or at least the previous admin. Today, everything has changed, right? Like, think about what we actually have going on right now. Number one, we have a pro-crypto Congress, pro-crypto presidential admin, a pro-crypto SEC. We have an SEC advisory board. Like, think about that. At the SEC, we also have an AI and crypto czar in the US. Like, when we are thinking about how different this space is today compared to just, let's go back 2 years ago, back to 2023. It is night and day. And by the way, these announcements, like some of these announcements, like even the Fed announcements back in, January, these headlines would have caused this entire market to erupt in value. And I didn't even bring it up, the FDIC, the OC news as well. Like, these are, I just want you guys to understand how bullish these headlines actually are. Because you go back to 2023, you go back to 2022, 2021, 2020, headlines like this did not exist. There was a lot of speculation around, eventually headlines like this existing, but nothing like this. I am very, very bullish on what's to come for crypto. I do think that we are about to see the floodgates truly open in a huge way. They already opened. We're just waiting for the flood to actually hit. I think that we're in for a very, very big, push here from the banks and the financial institutional side. The Fed is greenlighting it. The FDIC is greenlighting it. The OCC is greenlighting it. The CFTC, the SEC. Guys, I don't understand how anyone could be bearish right now at all. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys, definitely leave a like, subscribe, notification on, because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord on the description below. And with that being said, guys, thanks for watching Wynand Crypto. Peace out.